Welcome to the Pump Take Sports Show. Today, we're going to be talking about possibly the biggest trade of the offseason. I would say it's the biggest trade of the offseason. You've got former MVP Russell Westbrook going to the Washington Wizards, coming east for John Wall and a 2023 lottery-protected pick. So obviously this trade is crazy. The players are kind of similar at this point in their career in what they can do and stuff like that. But I'll open it up to you guys. Do you guys have thoughts about this trade?
Yeah, so I'll just start off that I think this was a move that both teams had to make, just considering that each of these players was pretty disgruntled in their current situation and that they wanted to get out. I think that Houston particularly is building a better iteration of their team with this trade, just in conjunction with this and other offseason moves they've made. John Wall, he's still the downhill driving sort of guard threat that Westbrook was, but he's a little bit better of a three-point shooter. And I think that the spacing that John Wall adds in conjunction with the additions of like DeMarcus Cousins and Christian Wood to kind of solve their positional issues that they were having in Houston, I think this was a good move for Houston to make to kind of get their team still competitive but on the right track.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm curious what I understand what you're saying, but I'm curious what I'm curious what both teams are thinking in this trade, because as you mentioned, they're kind of similar players that both have the same struggles. They both struggle shooting the three. John Wall might be a bit better, but to be fair, we haven't seen him play in like 2 years or something, which is quite weird as well. Another weird thing is like Harden. I feel like the Rockets are an interesting team because they've been so close to the finals. Like, I don't know if you guys remember. Well, you guys obviously do, but 2 years ago when they took, I think it was 2 years ago, when they took Golden State to Game 7, and they literally had the worst three-point shooting ever. I think they missed like 23 threes in a row or something insane like that to lose that Game 7. So they've been this close. And that was when they had Chris Paul, but I think Chris Paul was injured that game. But so they've had Chris Paul, and then Chris Paul left and Harden wanted Westbrook. Westbrook comes. 1 year of Westbrook, and Harden's like, I don't want Westbrook anymore. Westbrook wants out. They both say that they're good with each other. Like I was watching videos on YouTube. They have no beef personally, but it's just odd to me that Harden, like I saw that. I mean, Woj said that it seemed like Harden would rather play with John Wall than Russell Westbrook, which is so weird because he was the one who wanted Westbrook in the first place. So I'm not really sure exactly. Like, obviously Harden, it is good enough to lead a team to the finals, like as the leading player, but like, is John Wall going to help him do that? Like over Westbrook or Chris Paul? Like,
and that's what I think. I think it was like, it's not a case of like each team like doing something that is in direct benefit to them. It's more of each team is doing something to like make the best out of a bad case scenario with just two disgruntled stars.
And right before Lucas hops in, just one thing to add to that, Marky, is that like, I get why they have to try and appease what Harden would like to do, but Harden, there was all these offseason rumors of Harden wanting to leave and not even wanting to be a Rocket anymore.
Exactly.
And now you're going to trade for a guy that he likes. Like, I don't know. It just seems like, I get you have to appease your stars, but at a certain
point, is Harden going to leave
Harden
anyways?
Can't run the Rockets. Harden can't have the Rockets just in his like vice script saying, these are the guys I want to play with. I kind of want to leave. These are the, like, and eventually you have to just think of it from an organizational point of view, which I get is appeasing your stars, but yeah. Lucas, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think this just shows that the Rockets are still very invested in keeping Harden around and keeping him happy. I don't think they want to trade him. But to the point that you guys have all made, I think personally, I think that the Wizards came out on top in this trade. And the reason I say that is because I think just based on the way the teams finished last year and their outlook for this year, I think the Wizards most significantly raised their ceiling. I think the Wizards could be a fringe playoff team or a contender for a playoff spot in the East this year with Westbrook, whereas with Wall, that situation wasn't working out as well. I think Westbrook is better and more accomplished than Wall, obviously. Westbrook also reunites with his old head coach from OKC, Scott Brooks, who originally turned Westbrook into the all-star player that he is today. And I think the Wizards just most significantly raised their ceiling. Obviously, they're not going to be contending for a championship this year, but I think they most significantly raised their ceiling, whereas the Rockets kind of went lateral in this move, obviously because they really wanted to appease Harden.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that, and that I agree with you that the Wizards did get a better player in Westbrook overall, but this continues to just be a general theme that we talk about here. In the NBA, if you're not winning, you're losing. And for the Wizards to not really get they got better, but I don't think that they got significantly better. And then to give up a first round pick, granted it's lottery protected, to get a Russell Westbrook who is he's not prime MVP Russell Westbrook anymore. And I think everybody knows that. So it's if you're the Wizards, you're kind of just I see this as just delaying the inevitable of having to eventually just rebuild past the Wall and Bradley Beal era.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying for sure, but I think moving past the Wall era, I mean, Westbrook's a pretty good star player to kind of slot in there. Still at this point in his career, obviously he has had struggles in Houston, but it's also maybe not easy to play beside James Harden in his offense with small ball, and it's a super weird team dynamic. This is kind of the best shooting that Westbrook has ever had around him, and I think that will help him. Westbrook now has Thomas Bryant, who could actually kind of become a stretch five if he keeps developing his three-point shot. Davis Bertans, who's water, obviously. And then you have Bradley Beal as well, who's probably a little bit easier to play with than Harden would be, because Harden and this was what everyone was saying when the Harden Westbrook trade happened, is that their game styles clash so much. And I don't even love Westbrook. I think he's all right, but I'm not even a Westbrook truther or anything like that. But I think if you're going to move John Wall, getting Westbrook back for it is a great move for your team. And Bradley Beal's not a young, developing player anymore. He's older. He wants to win in Washington. And I think it's worth a shot. This whole thing is worth a shot. A 2023 first to try and get Westbrook, make the playoffs, and maybe do some damage. It's worth a shot. And one thing I just want to quickly just throw in there, for fantasy purposes, this does hurt Bradley Beal quite a bit, obviously. So Westbrook's going to take a lot more attention than John Wall would have in the offense. So I just wanted to preface with that, because I was thinking Bradley Beal was on my draft boards. I liked Bradley Beal this year, but with Westbrook there now, it makes it trickier to make him that high of a pick.
Yeah. Fantasy is going to be interesting this year for sure. One last thing that I just wanted to say while you guys were talking, I was just kind of pondering in my head. There's a lot of players in the NBA and in history, you can see it as well, that when two players come together that are very similar in their own minds about how talented they are in comparison with every other NBA player. I think Bradley Beal thinks he's comparable to Westbrook, and I think Westbrook thinks he's comparable to Bradley Beal. I think Westbrook thinks he's comparable to everyone, but I think Westbrook just thinks like that. It seems to me in an NBA team, for it to work, there kind of needs to be some kind of leadership, one person is the leader over everyone else, or just because it's such a star-studded and star-oriented league. For example, LeBron was the leader on the Cavs. Well, LeBron's always the leader wherever he goes because he's LeBron, but a team kind of needs its pecking order. And when two players, this is just my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, and I'd like to hear your guys' opinion, but when two guys come together like a Westbrook and like a Bradley Beal, it could kind of blow up, because when Wall got injured a while back and Bradley Beal was given kind of the reins to do whatever he want, he was able to shine and lead the team. So now when Westbrook comes in, he's thinking oh, this is my team now. I'm going to lead, all that kind of stuff. I could see that developing into kind of a problem with two big personality guys. As Raptors fans, we know how, hot-headed Bradley Beal can get, right? And then same with Westbrook. Those guys just seem to me there could be so much, clashing going on. I don't know. It's such a weird trade. Just as the final thing I want to say, it's the money is the exact same. The players kind of are very similar as well, highly athletic, drive to the net, not great shooters, really great passers, all that stuff, ball dominant. It's I get the trade, but I more just kind of get it from the sense of the teams needing to do something. I don't think either is a good fit. I don't think either player is really going to make either team that much better. I mean, because I don't know. I think the trade's odd, but yeah. What do you guys think about what I said originally?
Yeah, like just in terms of the leadership and pecking order thing, like it's the same reason why the Sixers are falling apart every year, is because they don't have that defined, like, who is the leader, who's taking the shot at the end of the game. And I think one thing for the Rockets that is good for this trade is that I think John Wall he hasn't played in literally like 2 years. He hasn't like played an NBA game in like 2 years. He's going to come in and he's going to let I think if he's smart about like kind of where he's at in his career, he's going to just let Harden do what Harden needs to do and be the second guy in Houston. Where Westbrook, I don't know if was willing to take that step back in Houston and be the second guy. So I think from a leadership perspective, Houston is probably more, it makes more sense because Harden is just still your number one. And then now you have John Wall as your number two, who will like slot in nicely there and not cause too much of a scene where, like you said, Marky, like Westbrook might not want to be the second guy in Washington. Hopefully he goes in with a perspective that this is Beal's team and like he is I don't think he's going to, though. He's not going to think he's a member of Beal's team.
I know.
So
no, he's going to think it's his team now.
Yeah.
He's going to want it to be, yeah. Which I agree with you, Marky, with that whole pecking order thing. And that's my biggest issue with the Wizards. But the reason I say that the Wizards won the trade is because they most significantly improved their ceiling for this year. Though I'm not the pecking order and the leadership thing is totally going to be an issue, I think. And it might hinder the Wizards' ability to actually contend with other teams in the East, but I think they're talented enough to make the playoffs and potentially give a team a scare, whoever they meet in the first round, but I don't think it's going to go much beyond that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it is scary because you can't deny that Westbrook, as questionable as his game has been lately, I think he's still good enough to potentially, take over a playoff game, win a few games in a playoff series, and with Beal beside him, like that can get kind of scary. So yeah, thanks for watching this and checking it out. Let us know in the comments what you think about the trade. That'd be kind of fun. Or we'll make a post about this on our Instagram, so let us know there as well. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.